You're a digital nomad or maybe a weekend traveler, some time in Mexico City. Should you do it? Short answer, yes. Longer answer, hell yes. So today I'm going to share some pros and cons to visiting Mexico City. So it's no surprise that I love this city, but I'm going to break some things down for you because sometimes the details are what can really draw us to a place. So I've been in Mexico City for about 3 weeks now, and I have been a digital nomad for, can you believe it, 16 months. If you are watching this and you're considering being a digital nomad and you are not yet, go ahead and check out my video, How to Become a Digital Nomad with 30 Days Notice. That will prime you for this, where I was 15 months ago. But one of the total pros is the beauty. I was awestruck walking along the streets of Condesa, and I'm currently staying in Roma Norte. Those are a couple of areas that are just really gorgeous to walk around. The architecture, the greenery, oh my gosh, the parks, just really amazing, simple pleasures. And there's also this park called Chapultepec Park, which is kind of like the Central Park of Mexico City. And it is so vast. It actually contains about 5 museums, not on the outskirts, they are in the park. And there's also this beautiful pond. So that the museums remind me of New York, except for in Chapultepec, they're inside. And then what kind of reminds me of Los Angeles, in Echo Park, you can get on those swans and paddle around. They have those here too, within the park. There's a huge pond. And when you walk around the park, you'll notice people are just lounging. There are hammocks that are just there all the time. Very romantic. There are people holding hands and cuddling almost everywhere you look. Just really good vibes. And going back to the architecture, elements of sometimes there are cobblestone streets, very European, some East Coast influences as well. Not what I was expecting from Mexico City. I didn't do a lot of research either, which can kind of be for the best sometimes. You're very pleasantly surprised, like I was. And okay, this goes without saying, but amazing food. If you like tacos, you're going to love it. But yeah, there are a few restaurants that stood out to me that they're on the best of lists, but I'll just shout them out here. Lardo's, they're a Mediterranean place. Definitely get a reservation at least 2 weeks in advance for their brunch. There's also this really cute little cafe called Bambolina Cafe. And when I went there, I had the most delicious mocha and a handmade mug. And they gave me a page to color on in crayons. So I was like, okay, I'm pretty sold here. And then Don Juan Tacos. They have a queso burrata. It's kind of like a quesarito, except for in quesadilla form, where it's kind of like a fully loaded situation. And I found it tasty. And okay, the culture and the museums, a total pro. They're in the park. When you intermix nature with art and culture, I'm like, yes, please, and thank you. And ones that I've been to so far that I highly recommend, go to the Frida and Diego Rivera museums, 2 separate museums, very different vibes. Frida's is all bright. And, she actually grew up in that home, which I found so fascinating. And she died there too, and everything in between. And then, Diego Rivera's is by contrast, kind of like dungeon vibes. And you're like, whoa, I guess opposites attract. And also check out the Anthropology Museum. Oh my goodness, is it vast? I'm just going to leave it there to kind of see for yourself. And also, kind of like Europe, you're maybe a 1-hour plane ride away from the beach or the mountains, or 7-hour bus ride if that's your preference. So there is this sort of jet-setting convenience vibe. And also, it is February right now, and it's 80 degrees. It is so nice. So, I was in San Francisco before this, and it was like 55. So to have it jump that much feels nice. And also, I have to mention the thriving expat community. Oh my goodness. If you want to make friends here as an expat, it's not hard to do. So what I want you to do is go to Mexico City Digital Nomads group on Facebook. And from there, I actually was added to a couple of WhatsApp groups with group dinner parties. The other night, I went to one hosted by this woman, Rochelle, with probably over 50 people. It was very packed. And I've also hosted a couple of networking and taco events. If you join that group, you'll probably see it in the history. And yeah, there's also holistic community. I've had a lot of fun going and doing yoga and doing some ecstatic movement events at Cosmic Serpent in Condesa area. So yeah, there's a lot of great community here that you can plug yourself into. And now we're going to go into a few cons, nothing that I would say should keep you from wanting to explore, but just things to be aware of. So it is polluted. The air quality is not great. In fact, it's usually kind of moderate or poor, but it's one of those things that is not super obvious to me, except for when I run. And, then going into another con, which is the altitude. So actually, if you're training for a race, this is a good thing, because if your race is in the States and you come here, for a few weeks, it's going to be that much easier to run, right? But if you're just trying to do your normal, 5-10K run, whatever it is, you might be huffing and puffing more than usual, because there is a notable difference. And also the visa situation. So at least at the time of this recording, the maximum that you can get as an American to stay here is 180 days, 6 months. But they being people at the airport, have kind of been using their discretion, and it's really unpredictable. You could get 20 days. So even if you book, let's say, an Airbnb or something for 3 months, the thing is, you'll have to leave and come back. Every single time you come back, you get a new allotment of days. So people typically, hope for 180, especially if they're actually residents and they're renting a room or an apartment by the year. But what you do, or what I've heard people do, is it's not great to overstay your welcome here. Because then you kind of set yourself up for potentially going to jail. It could happen. Especially if, let's say, you go to board a plane and they're like, your visa's expired. So what some people do is take a bus, or not a bus, just some other mode of transportation, like drive across the border into California. But I don't know, why not just take a 3-day trip to Brazil or wherever you want to go, and then come back and have whatever allotment of days, start back over again. That's for a longer term stay. And then earthquakes. There are earthquakes in Mexico pretty much every day. And while there haven't been ones in Mexico City, knock on wood, since I've been here, sometimes you can feel them a little bit. And then sometimes you think there's an earthquake when there actually is not. And what's actually happening is, if you're staying in an earthquake safe apartment, if there's a large truck that's driving by, what will happen is the building will just sway a little. And you might think that means that it's not stable, when actually it is. When it shakes a little bit, that kind of lets you know that, if or when an earthquake hits, because this is an earthquake prone area, then it's equipped to kind of go with the flow of the movements instead of crumbling right away. So that's nice. All right. Do we want to leave it on that note? I mean, maybe. Well, I forgot to say in the beginning, hola. Another pro, I'll end it on a positive note, is that there's so many immersion programs if you'd like to learn Spanish. And, you could do it 2 hours a day in a group setting for 2 weeks or a month and become really proficient. There's also good old Duolingo. And, when it comes to boosting your confidence to make all of these connections, especially if the language is like not second nature to you, and you're feeling like a little bit of culture shock, then what you can do to prepare yourself, or if you're already here, just to begin to boost that confidence even more, is check out my confidence boost meditation, which focuses on boosting your confidence from the subconscious level. It's a 21-day program that will allow you to, there's an instructional video. You'll also get a 1-pager to really optimize the experience so you get the very most out of it. And basically, if you know that there are some nerves, then you want to get this thing. It's going to really assist you at a subconscious level, have that sort of sense of calm, even when your building is shaking, right? So I'll go ahead and link that in the comments, and we'll also have it right here for you. And, happy travels to you. I'd love to also hear if you've been to Mexico City, or what is most interesting or exciting to you now that you know a little bit more about it through my experience. And que tenga un buen día.
Oh my gosh, what the heck?